Yeah.
Listen to her.
And when you were speaking, I just it in my mind, and I was like, I have to ask you about what. So when 9/11 was happening, so your job was the carpentry, and then when they approached you and like you have to make caskets, and I can imagine like that shift and like what went through your mind, like to see the world begin to change, and you're like you were the one who was like in the forefront of it, like protecting us at home, but like what was that like in the middle of it?
Well, I say fortunately, I never had to make caskets. It was more of like the initial, and that is a shocking like thing to be told, right? Because he was just like, this is. I think he was just trying to kind of make us understand the situation we were in. And I didn't go to Iraq until 2003, so it was a little bit more time before I left. I one thing that I think service does, and I did, like I said, build things or repair roads, and it's hard to explain those things when you get back, but service in general, any type of service, connects you with people, and that you wouldn't maybe normally be connected with, right? And so there is that bond and a respect that I think we're sorely lacking in general sometimes with people if we disagree with them, or I can have very big disagreements with people I served with who I want to still connect with them, but at the end of the day we still very much respect each other, love each other, wish each other well. And I think the idea of serving each other is something that, like, a positive, or a look at a positive that came out of the longest period of sustained warfare in American history, is it's a unique experience that I think most people don't get to have. I think people go into social work or healthcare do because they're in service to others, but a lot of different fields. Right? I think we've lost that that idea, that concept that we owe each other something, that we're, and I think that's something incredibly valuable. I don't know necessarily, I wouldn't say military is for everyone, absolutely not, but service in some component, right? So I think that was the biggest positive change I think that's come in the last 25 years, 24 years.
We were told your job is infantry now. Everyone is infantry, but it's funny. It's funny because I was a combat engineer. It's like, what could be worse than infantry? Combat engineer, you got to compete with deactivating mines and all this. Like, I guess this is good news, right?
You walk out. That's the way.
Kind of laugh on that aspect.
I don't think that it was so much of a change. We've always had a reading problem. There's always been a reading problem, right? COVID did not unveil this great big reading problem. COVID unveiled the access and accessibility, right? That woke us up. But we've always had a problem in this country with reading, going back to anti-literacy laws. So I just want to preface what I'm about to say with the fact that our brains were not wired to read. We had to teach it to read, right? It does this great thing. It rewires itself, right, to form pathways for reading to develop. A lot of people don't understand that. It's very different than language. Language, you can put a child in a room full of people who are speaking and they will speak. You don't have to teach them how to, right? That is not going to happen for reading. You cannot sit someone in a room full of people who are reading, whether they're reading out loud or silently. It's not going to happen. You have to teach it to read, right? That starts very early. What we think is reading starts in kindergarten, and then we build these habits in kindergarten. And if we think that, we're 5 years already behind, right? Reading starts really at the moment of conception. How? Well, all of the stuff that mom eats, all of the environmental pressures and stress impacts the developing brain. Reading is all about the brain. The brain is the main character, right? And so if we understand that, then we have a point of reference. And so how do we build stamina, right? Because in order to learn to read and read well, you have to build stamina. I'm like, this is a race, right? Not for the quick athlete, but it's endurance. And it took us years, decades to get here. My book has only been out since August. It's not going to take months for us to get out. And so people have to come to the point where I came to and say, okay, I reflected. Now I see, and now I'm going to do better. When you know better, you do better.
It's time to create.
I'm trying to coexist. Yeah, I'm trying to coexist. I'm trying to coexist.